Bienvenue, je m'appelle Philippe O'Hanlon, le chef de direction du fund, de On a Higher Note, le importateur de l'électronique Luxembourg de Japon et les hautes parleurs de Afrique du Sud. Je suis une Irlandaise, j'habite en Californie del Sud.
Yeah, that's good. The Fuji speakers?
Yeah, the Fujitsu are... in l'autre chambre, yeah. Now you say this, I think it's...
Représentant.
Yeah.
Enceintes acoustiques.
Yeah, Fujitsu Eclipse TD. Ce n'est pas haute-parleur. Enceinte à voix douce.
Ouais, c'est pas des haut-parleurs,
Yeah.
on dit haut-parleurs, mais c'est des enceintes à voix douce. Si vous avez une chance d'aller écouter les petits haut-parleurs que Philippe importe, c'est un petit haut-parleur fait pour s'asseoir à 1 mètre ou 2. Tu sais, quelqu'un qui a un bureau ou qui a un petit appartement, puis avec une résolution très élevée. Puis on les a installés de l'autre côté, puis vous pouvez passer. On va prendre un break au milieu du séminaire, comme ça vous pouvez y aller puis écouter de la musique.
Yeah.
Donc c'est très intéressant.
I heard the other speakers at the Munich show 4 years ago, and it has taken me 4 years to persuade the Japanese to let me sell. And I told the Japanese, you make fabulous product, but you have no idea how to sell it. And it's true. The speaker inside does not compete with a loudspeaker like this. It's a very different animal. But anyway, let's stay with. During the break, if anybody wants to hear the other speaker, we can do that. Let's start with a little sorbet, and I just want to give you a little music first, and we'll play this quietly just to get you in the mood. This is Eric Kunzel and the King Singers singing the Beatles' Here, There and Everywhere.
To lead a better life, I need my love to be here.
We're going to show you an interesting comparison that's pretty difficult for any normal person to do because you don't have access to this. This is from the original master. It's a digital master. This is going to be, I can give you a choice. We have one song by Patricia Barber, we have Bill Evans, and we also have David Oistrakh playing the Bruch, the violin concerto. So, would you like classical, jazz, or the Patricia Barber?
Barber.
Yes.
Barber.
Okay. We're going to start off by playing. This is the MP3 at 320 kilobit. And then afterwards, we're going to play the same thing, but now at CD, well, actually even higher than CD quality. It'll be 24-bit, 44 kilohertz, a wave file. Well, let's start. We'll just play about 1.5 minutes of the MP3. We'll play the same thing at, first of all, 44 kilohertz, then 96, then 192.
You and the night and the music fill me with flaming desire.
So did you hear much of a difference? Now, I've got a very interesting comparison for you next. I myself have I started buying SSCDs about 12, 13, maybe 14 years ago. I started buying SSCDs. When they just came out, I started buying everything pretty much that came out. And 2 years ago, I started ripping them on a PlayStation 3. And it is a real nightmare, let me tell you. It's a horrible thing to do. But anyway, I had a huge SSCD collection, and this wasn't even out. But I knew that it was coming. So I decided, hey, I'll get a jump on it. So I started ripping the SSCDs. And this is what I found is like, what you're going to find is really the most interesting part. I'm going to play Rachmaninoff's second symphony, the second movement. This will be Ivan Fischer with the Budapest Festival Orchestra, recorded by Channel Classics. And I'll play probably 3-4 minutes first, and you're going to hear what my SSCD sounds like. Okay? Then I'm going to play the DSD master that the SSCD was made from. And the engineers at Channel Classics said to me, it should sound exactly the same. Bit for bit, we look at it on an oscilloscope and they look identical. I'll let you be the judge of whether they might look identical, but I will let you decide whether they sound identical. Okay? Do you agree? So I played this for them in Denver last October, and they said, we don't know, Philippe, this is huge. And they said, we don't understand. And I said, well, I don't understand either. I'll tell you what I do understand is, this is the DSD download, and to me it's much more valuable than the SACD. Because the SACD, at the end of the day, is another plastic coaster that I really have no use for. Right? And, I have been spending most of my own personal money since I was like 15. I'm now 57. So for the last 42 years, I've always spent a huge proportion of my income every year on music. And I came to North America I'm married now 20 years, so 23 years ago I came to California, and I have been buying about 500 pieces of music every year for 23 years. So yeah, I mean, I am myself like a terrific music collector, and I am going to share with you now.
Can we ask a few questions?
Please.
The second piece sounded better, more open and all that, although it was a little louder or perceptibly, and I'm not the best spot here to listen in the room. But if digitally they were okay, so what, inherently the DSD conversion to analog is a better, more realistic version of analog?
No.
Why is that then?
No, the difference is it's the exact same music. Electrically, it's electrically, digitally, it's supposed to be the same.
Right.
The difference is the music was converted to this plastic medium. And that's what you're hearing. That unfortunately, when you converted the music to put it on this coaster, unfortunately, it does not sound as good as the original it started from. And nobody has given me a good explanation as to why that is, but you can hear it for yourselves. And I have other stuff as well that I've got where I didn't go to disc, and it's just straight from the mixing console. And obviously, it's always better if you don't have to go to the disc.
So you're saying the process of putting it on a CD in itself somehow loses something?
Yes,
Yeah.
that's exactly it.
Philip, have you ever heard any glass CDs?
I haven't.
Because the guy from Audio Beats, you know, the website,
Yeah?
I don't know his name, I heard a demonstration with a glass CD from Japan.
Yeah. They're very expensive.
Very expensive, but
Yeah, I have.
because
No.
that's a different type of media, not plastic and glass.
Yeah, I have some of the super expensive medium from Japan.
Okay.
And yes, they sound a little bit better, but they still don't sound as
Okay.
good. You know, it's that, unfortunately, it's that,
It's a process.
yeah, that process,
It's
you know,
the thing.
and stamping the disc, you know, they stamp all of the little pits into the plastic. And now you have, instead of, like, the pit hole should be like this. Instead, it's like this. So, for example, I will give you all this afternoon a copy of my latest demo CD. And these things, I promise you, are a bitch to make, because every single one of those was made individually. Right? So it takes me days to put them together to give out to you. I bought a duplicator and I thought, oh, this is great. I can put, you know, 20, 40 discs into the duplicator and walk away, and it will give me 40 of these CDs that I can give out. No, couldn't do it. The sound quality of what you'll hear on this burnt CD is very, very good. But even still, it's not going to be as good as the original.
But
No.
the original is also some digital storage
Yeah.
medium.
Mark, we have a guy coming, I don't know if he's there.
Yeah.
The second part of the seminar is all about that.
Okay,
We're talking about where the master tapes are coming from, how it's transferred in digital, how it's processed.
okay.
So it's
Yeah.
going to answer pretty much. If the guy is there, I didn't see him.
Yeah, he is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's great. So we're gonna.
Now, what I have next for you is just, which is really like the whole reason why I'm here, is honestly to share the most sublime music with you. Okay? And staying in the classical mood for a while, we'll move on to different genres on the next time round. And up next is Prokofiev's Scenes from Lieutenant Kija. This was a soundtrack to a 1932 movie, and it's a hilarious story about the completely dysfunctional Russian army at the time in the 19th century. And so there is supposedly a soldier out on the front, and it's probably like the Crimean War or something like this against the British. And there's a soldier supposed to be out on the front called Kija, and they decide that Kija needs to be promoted to corporal. So, but when the paperwork actually gets out to the front, somehow he got promoted to lieutenant instead. Okay? That's not the problem. The problem is there is no Kija. So the people out on the front, the officers out in the front decide, hey, here's a great opportunity to scam some money. So what they do is they play along with this Lieutenant Kija and they pocket the money. So the next thing they figure happened out, the story continues, and they decide that Kija, they'd like to get him promoted again, because obviously they're onto a good thing. So they decide they'd like to try and get him promoted. So they make up some acts of valor, and he saves the Tsar's daughter from some accident or something like this. And then the people in Moscow start smelling that there might be something wrong with Kija. And the people out in the front decide that, you know, we really can't play along with this Kija too much longer. So then they disgrace him. And then the whole movie ends with the funeral for Kija. Right? And it musically, where this is going to be really interesting is, it'll start off sounding like Aaron Copland, and then you'll get some melodies from Rimsky-Korsakov. And the interesting thing is, unlike Aaron Copland, Prokofiev will bring in dissonant strings, like from the left-hand side. And at the very, very end, which unfortunately we won't have time for, and the very last movement, he will bring in 2 melodies at a time that you've heard earlier, and he will bring in another 2 melodies at a time that you've heard earlier, and the whole thing works. I mean, the guy is amazing. I mean, he can bring in all of these different types of melodies and show you how he can pin 2 melodies together and still bring in 2 more and then bring out the other 2 and bring in, you know, it's incredible. It really is. Anyway, without further ado, this is going to be Vladimir Ashkenazy conducting the Sydney Symphony Orchestra. This is recorded in the Opera House in Sydney. It is a sublime performance, a fantastic recording. The interesting thing is, I'll see, you know, if we're running out of time, might kind of jump into the next movement, which is the Romance, with this fabulous Russian baritone. Let me just describe, first of all, what we have in the room today. Besides, of course, the remarkable Eric Forty.
Made in Canada.
Let me see. Starting from the beginning, we're using a Luxman turntable. This is actually came out about 2-3 years ago. It's not 40 years old. And this actually has like a 32-bit processor for the speed control. Luxman phonostage. This is the Luxman DSD DAC, although we've been playing a lot of PCM today. And we're actually going to play for you just now a comparison of PCM versus DSD. And we're using, this is actually the first time these have ever been used outside of Japan. It's the Luxman C900 line stage. About, I think, 22,000 Canadian.
Yeah.
About 22,000 Canadian. Arriving here in Canada in April. And we've got the matching stereo amplifier here, the M900, which replaces the 800. This one is Class A for the first 12 watts, then 150 watts Class AB into 8 ohms. It's stable into 1 ohm, and there it puts out about 1200 watts. And you can also use this as a monoblock, and then it starts out at 600 watts into 8 ohms, 1200 watts into 4, 2,500 watts peak power into 2 ohms. The speakers are from South Africa. This is a line called Vivid. The designer is a guy called Lawrence Dickey. He did the Nautilus for BMW back in 1984. And it has the same tapered tubes as the Nautilus, which is basically a way of taking the energy, the backwave energy from the driver and compressing it down this tube. And as it comes to the end of the tube, it's filled with fiber, and that energy is turned into heat. So the idea is all of the drivers actually are built like this, and The bulk of the actual cabinet is to get rid of the base energy inside the box and turn it into heat. And that's what the curl is here. So this is a folded horn, and obviously if it didn't have a curl, the speaker would be this tall, and it would just go straight up, and now towards the end here, like this funnel, you would find it filled with fiber, and now it would actually get physically hot up here. They make all the drivers themselves. The drivers are all floating free of the cabinet. There are two woofers here, and the woofers are physically bolted together so they're working like this. The neat thing is, I can play this really loud for you later on, and you can come up and put your hand on the cabinet, and there's no vibration. Now, without further ado, let me show you what I'm talking about musically. We're going to play from Steely Dan's Gaucho. We're going to play, first of all, we're going to play the 2496 version. And this is a recent download from Pro Studio Masters. And afterwards, we're going to play from the SACD that was released about 12 years ago. We're going to play a track off that, the same track, the same song. So you'll hear the PCM 2496 versus the DSD of Steely Dan's Hey 19. When I come back for Salon Son et Image, I'll bring some of my singles with me the next time I come back. And I promise you, as good as the DSD and these PCM, wait until you hear what the 12-inch singles are. I mean, they are amazing, I promise you. And we'll play them on the Luxman turntable, you know, in 2 months' time, and I promise you, it's absolutely amazing. Now, I'm going to play, and this is from the 45 reissue from Classic Records that came out about 10 years ago. And this will be Duke Ellington, Manitoba Spank. The reason why I'm playing this for you is it's a fabulous piece of music, but it also shows what a system can and cannot do. On a lot of systems you'll hear it's going to be way too hot and it's going to be way too bright, but you'll see that the Luxman electronics and the Vivid speakers are very forgiving like that. I mean, it won't be too bright at all. Well, 5, that's Irish minutes, you know. Up next, I'm going to play a bunch of songs from Demo 16, which I assembled for CES. And first off is going to be probably the best blues album that I heard last year. This is Doug MacLeod's There Is a Time. It was recorded at Skywalker Ranch by Keith Johnson, and it is absolutely superb. I played this on record at many shows, and I had a very unique experience. Many times when I played this, and I would play like side 1, and this is the second song from side 1, and I would play this, and at the end of the side, people would break into spontaneous applause from listening to a record. I was like really touched. And I said this to Doug MacLeod, and he was absolutely chuffed. He was so pleased that people had embraced his music. You'll see for yourselves, it's absolutely superb. This is called Black Night from Doug MacLeod, There's a Time.
can't understand my woman. Can my